Israel's Gaza evacuation order could breach international law. It says that Palestinians flee their houses heading towards the southern part of the Strip after Israel's call for more than 1 million civilians in the Strip to move south within 24 hours. Of course, it's been over 24 hours. What is absolutely crazy about this, if you haven't been following it, is they're telling a place of 25 miles long of 2.2 million people for 1.1 million people to basically move in with the other 1.1 million people, therefore making a 12-mile strip with 2 million people in it, or close to. Either way, it was already a hugely densely populated area, house stacked on house on house on house. If you've seen the satellite photos, every building is just incredibly tight, tiny little sideways alleys between them. It's pretty crazy already. And to think that these people then have to then go with the rest of the other half is pretty nuts. Now, there's been all sorts of arguments about what is actually going on there. And now we have a huge, massive event that just happened. In fact, we just covered that over on Marfoogle News, the hospital that was hit. Both sides are blaming each other, and it's reminiscent of UKR and, of course, Russia when the missile hit Poland. It's kind of like we see the same things being said, like, oh, it was their side, and it was their side, and it was an errant this and errant that. Whatever it is, it's now bringing up a lot of controversy, and it's also bringing up a lot of criticisms on other things. Now they're saying that out of Geneva, the United Nations Human Rights Office said on Tuesday that Israel's siege of the Strip, its evacuation order for the north of the enclave, could amount to forcible transfer of civilians and be in breach of international law. Speaking to reporters in Geneva, Ravina Shamdasani, spokesperson for the UN Human Rights Office, said that IS seemed to have made no effort to ensure the civilians temporarily evacuated the Strip were provided with proper accommodation as well as satisfactory conditions of hygiene, health, safety, and nutrition. Well, I wouldn't think so. They gave them 24 hours. Like, how would you do that with, 100 people, let alone 1 million people, and then call the southern half and say, hey, you guys got a couch they can sleep on? Like, hey, you got some extra toothbrushes around, or you got a shower, right? They can take a shower there. I don't know. This sounds absolutely nuts. It says, quote, we are concerned with this order combined with the imposition of a complete siege of the Strip may not be considered as lawful temporary evacuation and would therefore amount to forcible transfer of civilians in breach of international law. Again, maybe this is why they haven't actually gone in yet. Maybe something's going on behind the scenes. But we all know that most of what's happening right now is probably not what it seems. So we're going to talk about this and much, much more tonight on Marfoogle TV. Plus, we're going to cover the other things that are happening other than this. Again, in the last 24 hours, this is all that people can talk about. We're going to show you what else has happened on the back page of things. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. I can't say thank you enough. Peace is out the window. Contamination. All you have to do to find a full bibliography of all of the sources for today's show is just click on today's thumbnail. War, peace is out the window, contamination, and it will bring you to this page. This page has every single article, tweet, video, picture, document, including all of the sources. Wherever it's from, you will have at your fingertips, and it is searchable and, of course, archived. You go up to that search bar, you can type in anything from Bigfoot to volleyball. It doesn't matter. You will find every show that we have talked about that subject. So make sure to use that. You can, of course, type in Neurostrike, a very interesting subject, and you will find the shows we've done about what I think is actually something incredibly serious that all of you should pay attention to. But other than that, we're going to get on with the news and bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
Also, check out marfooglenews.com/friends. All of our wonderful mods down in the chat. Make sure to thank them. I saw Trinity is here. Of course, thank all of our mods for of course, helping out all the community. They make sure to direct people to the right place. If folks are confused with sources or how to get to the website, they are always helping. And of course, always helping as far as just making people feel better about chaos and the end of the world. So make sure to drop an M in the chat right now. And then after that, if you would like, let's do a quick roll call. Where are you from? State or province? And again, you can immediately find other folks from your state and immediately have something in common and represent where you're from. Daniel Sen, thank you. Brian Hillary, thank you for doing that. Mr. Obvious, what is happening? Kimbria, Darren Schrader from Illinois, Comet Moon from the OHIO. And we've got, of course, Wiregrass Preparedness from Florida. We've got Louisiana in the house with Nanny Anderson. We have another Ohio, Muleshoe, Texas, Misty P. Misty P. I only knew one person in my life who was named Misty, and it was my mom's friend's daughter. And I haven't seen her since I was like 7. Gosh, I can't believe I've never met a Misty other than her. Yeah, I think that's the only one. Jason Smith, 3 Horses Running. You don't even see celebrities named that. Daryl Judd, thank you, from Muskogee. Hey, nice to see some Muskogee in the house. And then we've got the Alamo, Cypher 9, what is happening? Utah in the house. We've got North Carolina, West Virginia. We've got WV Patriot, Tona Michaels, Rebecca Snavely from Pennsylvania. And from the Great Smoky Mountains, we've got the Great Smoky Mountains in the house. Goleta, California, what is happening? Chris 206 from Seattle, Washington. We've got Joe that you know, Trinity, Chicago, City Prepper 016, Nickel Wise, Morrison, Colorado, Ryan Alter, and 13 days left. Any allergies, red eye? No, I've had a horrible migraine for probably 4 days, and I've had pressure behind my eyes. I don't smoke. I used to smoke a lot when I was a teenager, but no, I haven't touched the Mary Jane since before it was legalized, from when you used to have to call a guy and he was always around the corner. And he would pull up in some sort of 70s, 80s car from an auction that would be squeaking, and you always had to look over your shoulder. Now you can go into a 7-Eleven and just buy it. So, heavy ordinance. But yeah, I've had, you know, what's weird is our whole family's had weird stuff going on. But yeah, I've had pressure behind my eyes and just horrible, horrible pain. It's not been fun. And then, let's see here, Twilight. We've got Donosaurus Rex and so many more. Thank you guys. Cersei Sandalwood. LOL. What's going on? Yeah, the guy that's always around the corner. Permanently, indefinitely. I think to this day, I think he is somewhere still right around the corner. Okay. And let's see here. We're going to go into Israeli intelligence finds treasure trove of Hamas battle plans revealing the surprise attack. Oh, that's very convenient. Dex, do you want to go over the treasure trove of information? And of course, now they found it.
Yeah. Why now? Why didn't they know it earlier? That's the big question I think a lot of people are asking. But they did come out and say, hey, out of all the perished people that had come across and caused this damage and savage orchestration, as they were referring to it, they were able to pull off a lot of intel from those people, physically off of them, maps, battle plans, They were supposed to be. It appeared that they were going after specific complexes, and they had high levels of planning and et cetera for October 7th, and it was well coordinated. So all of this is the kind of intel you would expect them to have had beforehand, not after the fact, not pulling it off of the perished T guys that they've taken out to then find it. So I think a lot of people are kind of questioning that. And then you also have to sort of weigh this too, what side it's coming from and who's telling it to you. Not that we think that anybody is going to be uh, changing stories or gaslighting stories here, but we have had these stories change numerous times after they come out. So you have to be careful with it. Not to say that is indicative of either side doing that.
Yeah, there have been stories over the last 5 days that have been put out by mainstream media. Then it trickles down. Independents cover it, and then they immediately flip on it and say, "Oh, that was fake news," and then blame the independents for sharing stuff that the MSM has put out, and they're verified stories, and then they debunk almost immediately. So that's what's been happening the last week, and it almost seems purposeful. And then we have mass protests erupt in Arab capitals as the IDF blames errant Islamic Jihad rocket for the hospital, what they are calling a mass anchor. So this event, again, you can question what are the odds that this thing would err and make a mistake and accidentally hit a hospital. Whatever side you're leaning towards on who ended up doing this, or if you're thinking about a third option, like a 3-letter agency or whatever else, whoever hit it, when this happens, then you have other countries jumping in, and other countries are now asking for escalation. They are saying that this is absolutely unacceptable. Some countries are saying, nope, we're not going to work with the U.S. anymore. After all these things, everybody is throwing the blame game around, and now you have events now changing midway through. We talked about it earlier, but President JB's trip to Jordan is now canceled because of this event, and there are mass protests going on. It says the issued a statement based on preliminary investigation claiming that it was an errant missile fired from within the strip itself. The idea alleges that the Jihad fired the rocket in a failed shooting that was intended for Israel. So, and they're saying, according to intelligence information from several sources, have that the PIJ organization is responsible for the failed launch of this missile that ended up hitting the hospital. It said it appeared, of course, and then it goes over where they put it out, right? So, whichever side you believe on this, or if you don't believe either side, either way, now there are all these dominoes falling all over the place, and they're trying to change things. And now certain countries are going up in smoke literally right now. There are dumpster fires with some of these massive, massive protests. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, and just some of the examples of what's happening just from this release, from them coming out, them being Israel coming out and pointing the finger back. They've stormed the embassy in Jordan. It's under potential attack. I don't know how long that's going to continue or if that was short lived, but that was the headline of that. They've also gone after in Beirut, the U.S. embassy. So there's a lot of, and right now it's demonstrators, but there's also a lot of reports that they're doing more than just demonstrating, if you know what I mean. So we're waiting to get more confirmation on what those exact details are, what may be happening to those embassies. But it's clear that those are going to be hot spots anywhere. Even we saw the one the other day on the 13th in China was hit as well.
Yeah, so as far as the reports keep on changing, things just keep kind of morphing into something else. That's why we've been doing daily updates. So just keep followed over here. Make sure to hit the subscription, and then of course hit the bell, and make sure to have all notifications. If you're also not getting those notifications, and even you have all clicked on that bell, make sure to sign up for ours. You can easily go to most browsers, or if you're on Android, you can easily sign up for our email alerts, or you can just sign up for our notifications. The notifications don't require anything. All you have to do is just basically say yes. Normally, I admit, I don't click those. I say I don't want notifications from New York Times or whatever else. But these ones are very specific. When we go live, it notifies you. That's it. Otherwise, if we send an email out, which we haven't in months, then it will alert you about that. But that's it. Basically, right when we go live, it will let you know. Go to marfooglenews.com. And also, while you're there, sign up for email alerts. That, again, is there as well. That is basically our, if we know, we tell you kind of list. So, all right. And then before we move on, just want to remind you, make sure to go over to check out Nutrient Survival. This is one of the best freeze-dried food as far as taste-wise and nutrition-wise that I have found so far. They say they have 6 times more nutrients than the average freeze-dried food. They are made in small batches. It is amazing, amazing packaging, lasts 25 years plus, again, and it is really, really good food. As far as the taste is one of the best. It's not like a survive. This is a survive and thrive, as far as it will have you healthy and strong. Go to marfooglenews.com/NS. This is special ops grade survival food. This was designed by special ops guys that basically looked at it and said, what do you need to have if you're in the field or if you're in an SHTF situation? What will you need to not only just survive, but to literally be strong and to be able to live? So go to marfooglenews.com/NS. You'll save 15% off with that code MARF. Again, that's with our code MARF. And then aggressive Chinese fighter jets spook Canadian plane on UN mission. I think what's going to happen eventually, and we'll come back to this in a year or maybe less, and this is how I feel with the Middle East. With the Middle East and even UK and Russia, all of the tit-for-tat kind of events that were happening beforehand. And we have covered so many of these where there's aggressive China jets. Of course, the Taiwan median strait where they've been flying more and more planes over. They've been drilling. They've been exercising. China is loading up. They've already loaded up their entire coastline with troops. They are practicing actually going over. At this point, it's a matter of time, in my opinion, that they're going to actually take Taiwan, unless somehow last minute when this new, whoever the new prez gets picked, the VP is most likely the current VP of the one who supports Taiwan independence, all of a sudden gets some, massive amount of money in their pocket, and they all of a sudden say, oh yeah, we should reunite with China. Unless something like that happens, then they're going to physically take the island at some point. They have said that. They have told their soldiers to get ready for war. Essentially, it's just a matter of time. But these tit-for-tat things, people really brush them off because there's been so many and it's been so often. But at this point, I feel like we're going to look back at this and say, we saw this coming for a long time. We saw all of these movements. We saw all of these actions taken. And it's just going to be like the strip and is how they were basically going back and forth and doing these things to each other. Only in this case, it's been China just aggressively harassing everybody in this area. So it's like we're going to look back at this and you're going to see how this kind of built up and built up and built up. But it said a Canadian general criticized the Chinese Air Force over an incident off the coast of the Asian nation where a fighter jet cut off a patrol plane and dropped flares in its path. The episode on Monday was reported by Global News, which had journalists on the Canadian surveillance aircraft. Chinese fighters also flew within 5 meters. Again, that's Global News, not Global Times. Because I saw comments saying, is that China commenting on China and why was China on that plane? That Global Times is China's propaganda piece. Newspaper, Global News is something else. It says they became very aggressive and to a degree we would deem it unsafe and unprofessional. Well, what's new, right? But I think we're going to look back and we're going to see a lot of these things. Dex, do you want to talk about softer China diplomacy as Xi navigates challenges at home?
Yeah, this is a very interesting piece. It talks, basically the gist is China's got the economic woes, which we've covered at nauseum almost, it seems like, for the last 3 or 4 weeks now, especially around real estate and other issues and investing with US investors. So, but what they're saying is it's very clear the stance China has taken recently to try to appease or at least give a better appearance of themselves towards the rest of the world, such as releasing an Australian journalist that was in prison, having all of those meetings that we covered and inviting the US military to defense forums. We covered those numerous meetings we've seen happen, and then also restructuring debt with Sri Lanka. But the main point I guess they're trying to make is this is going to be a temporary thing. This is not China changing the way it operates. It's merely doing this at the moment to try to save face in the eyes of this investment world, in the eyes of this economic issues it's having. It's trying to be softer, but it's only temporary because the real China will come right back. Is what they're saying and what they're trying to describe. But it is an interesting way to sort of look at specifically some actions that they have done recently that really aren't normal for them to have done. And those are the specific ideas of them trying to make nice, if you want to call it that, and improve their image. So you be the judge. We keep talking about this. We don't know if how much of what we've seen with China and its economics are a front that they're trying to make an impression that they're in a bad position and they really aren't, or if they really are in a bad position and they're trying to make themselves look as good as possible to weather their own storm they have to deal with. But it certainly is relevant because of the size of their GDP, the size of and how much they impact global trade and economy.
And as Ukraine uses secretly shipped U.S. missiles to launch surprise strike. It says the delivery and use on the battlefield marks a major ramp up of the administration's defensive UKR. Now, most of the people I've talked to and even military members have said that they do not believe UKR is doing well right now. Of course, Western media is saying that they're, doing awesome and that this is going really well. And I feel like that's because they don't want you to realize that, a ton of our money and taxpayer dollars have gone to failing conflict. Now, everybody has their opinion on this. Some people may say, no, UK is kicking butt and they're about to take Russia over or something, but I highly doubt it. U.S. Army soldiers conduct live fire testing. It says the Ukrainian military on Tuesday used U.S.-supplied longer-range missiles to strike the Russian helicopters in eastern Ukraine after Washington secretly shipped weapons in recent weeks. Interesting, right? It says the delivery and use on the battlefield confirmed by two people familiar with the move marks a major ramp-up of the administration's defense of UKR, for the first time providing Kiev's forces with the ability to strike Russian targets far beyond the front lines. Now, just step back a moment without supporting either side. If you think about this from Russia's point of view, the U.S. directly just gave them the tools to strike inside their homeland and far inside their homeland. It's crazy to watch how this all played out even before they even did the invasion, how they set up 150,000 troops and they went to the border and they said it was a drill and they set up all this permanent structure and then they left, and a year later, almost exactly, they came back and they actually did it. Well, as far as the actions that have been taken, they have clearly said that they believe the U.S., without the U.S., that they would have already defeated UKR and that UKR would have been gone if not for the infrastructure of NATO. Well, now they're giving them weapons. I have to say this again. 8 months ago, this would have been a giant deal. People would be freaking out right now. People aren't even paying attention to UKR in Russia. But 8 months ago, people would be absolutely going ham nuts. People would be, going out and building a shelter right now. Because at one point during this conflict in the very beginning, it was like if the U.S. was helping this much and gave them something like this, which the whole world advised against, they said that Russia would get so mad that they would retaliate against us. Is that no longer an option? Is that no longer something that would happen? Also, as a prepper, and as we talk about some of the events that very well could happen, it's like this is a country that has cyber capabilities close to the U.S. and China's. We're talking about cyber capabilities that could knock down infrastructure that would basically put our country at a halt. And as far as now, if we're hitting targets way inside of Russia, this could get really, really sour. So I hope they're ready. I hope they're ready to defend against whatever is caused from these movements. One of the military members I talked to said that this is, in their opinion, a huge mistake and that this will be retaliated against. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Dex, that now people don't even bat an eye if we give them missiles that go way into Russia. We're helping UKR attack way into Russia and basically take out targets in the middle of Russia. Like
it's a red line that has been crossed. We've crossed it numerous times, and I'm just wondering, like, when will Putin, say, okay, enough's enough, and start to do something outside? Now, it's a big deal. As soon as he strikes anything that's NATO related, then he's got full force of NATO coming down, and he's got to be ready to handle that. And that's when everything gets extremely hairy. But yeah, it is clear as day from everything from satellite imagery to intel to specific targeting of ships that we helped them early on with. We as in the West have done so much to help UKR directly attack Russia, whether it's deep in the homeland, on the front line, or out in the water. Those red lines have been crossed so many times now.
Not to mention companies here, say like SpaceX, the whole thing that it was about a month ago where Elon was getting criticism because he essentially stopped the use of his Starlink and did not turn on his Starlink to actually attack specific targets inside of Russia. And he said that he did so because he didn't want to be a part of the conflict and to be a direct reason why, they were able to attack Russia. With Starlink, what's crazy is over the last week and stuff, they've been actually talking about how Starlink is now going to be adding, we're literally talking about space lasers to different units. Like, there's been so much going on recently. It's absolutely nuts. I can only imagine where this is going to go in the next 6-7 months. And then a Russian governor has been reported to the police after saying there's no need for the war in UKR. So this is out of the AP. Again, just in case the AP comes out tomorrow and says, oh, this is debunked. But it says a Russian governor was accused by critics on Sunday for discrediting Russia's armed forces after telling residents in her region that the country had, quote, no need for its conflict in Ukraine. Natalia Komarova, the governor of Contamination, a member of the President Vladimir Putin's governing United Russia Party, made the remarks during a meeting with residents in the Siberian city of Novorossiysk on Saturday. She was in Siberia, like one of the Siberia is not a fun place already. And did they really care because she said that, or is there something else here? Like, the thing that everybody thinks if you go against what is being said that you're supporting the other side. I just think that Western media always they try to take everything they can and make it look like they're complete dummies or they're crazy or they're nuts, right? You never want to underestimate your enemy, especially an enemy with nukes and cyber division, right? But they say that the woman obviously said these things. Now she's being arrested. If that is true, and it probably is, it's crazy to think that if you go against something, you would be arrested. Well, is that really that far from what's happening in Europe right now? Heck, if you put the wrong thing on your Facebook, you'll have police at your door. So this may seem crazy to us here in the U.S., but this may be where we're coming from. And you don't even have to be a mayor. You say the wrong thing, you've got people knocking at your door. But yeah, and then critics have called for authorities to launch an investigation into her remarks. But Kormakova hasn't been detained or faced any charges yet. Okay, sorry about that. I felt like she was arrested. And now they're saying a video of the event posted on social media showed the politician being confronted by the wife of a Russian soldier who said that mobilized men had poorly equipped for the front line. And then, Dex, do you want to talk about Egypt's Suez Canal prepares to rise transit fees, potentially intensifying global inflation? On top of
Well,
everything else, now we have another thing that could possibly hurt our inflation.
Exactly. And we talked about this in a different way as it related to the Panama Canal. We were talking about the droughts and the lower water levels and the limiting of the number of crossings. And that was causing potential inflation because ships were sitting, not being able to get through. If they didn't have a reservation time, then they were just backing up, waiting and waiting. These canals, like the Suez, or in that case, the Panama Canal, as I was talking about a moment ago, are critical to transportation and getting goods and across, the globe in mass because so much is on these big cargo ships. So they're literally talking about raising the rates about 15%. And that would be effective, I think, January of 2024. So it's just right around the corner. But those 15% hikes are just it basically trickles down. It just means the cost to ship a container is going to go up, and whatever's inside that container, that cost is going to be baked into the price of whoever's buying it, which would be, a wholesaler or distributor who's then going to turn around and raise the price to the retailer who's going to raise the price to you when you go buy it off the shelf. So this is one of the many things that's happening right now, and we've got to pay attention because a lot of these things can quickly start adding up to the costs of all of our goods that we buy.
And Dex, you remember during CV it was crazy. Some of the containers that were going, they said that to ship a container from here to here was like $5,000, and they said during CV at one point when that whole supply chain operation was going on. They said it went up to like 25,000 or 30,000 or something. It was just an insane hike, right? Well, as far as 15%, even if it was on the low end to ship a container through, I don't know the difference of what the prices are to ship from there to there, but even if it was at $5,000, 15% of 5,000 is a big chunk rise, especially if you're shipping out hundreds of containers, from just one company, let alone thousands of containers on one ship, each one going up, having this kind of price hike. This is going to be yet another domino that falls down. We already have shrinkflation. We already have inflation. We have everything else. I've been commenting lately on, they're trying to sell you the same packaging, but with so much less in it. I took a picture. I just cannot believe all of the different products that are shrinkflation should piss you off too. Now, some people think of it as a good thing. Well, it's just what you get. I would rather pay a little bit more and get the same size thing, but now you're paying more and you're getting less. And it's really infuriating when you open up a package of something and it normally has a certain number of things. And literally, the one example was like there was these, what do you call them? The cookies. The cookies that come in stacks, and I remember stacks of 6 each row. It was 3 cookies per row, 4 rows. It was 12 cookies for this thing. And it was on sale for like a fourth of the price. But it wasn't even worth the sale price. Chips Ahoy. It was 3 cookies per row, and there was only 4 rows of 3 cookies. And I'm like, this is insane. I only got it because it was on sale, but once I opened it, I was like blown away. And there's things like this all the time. Ice cream's gotten smaller. This has got smaller. That's got, or the bottles of things have gotten smaller. The chips, they put less chips in it. They make the bag bigger and the contents. It's absolutely nuts that they are still rising prices and they're shrinking the actual product to the point where you are spending hundreds of dollars to go grocery shopping and you're not even getting enough to get by for a few days. I think it's just getting infuriating. And a lot of this stuff could be avoided if we had people with common sense running the planet. But of course, I'm sure all of these people are making tons and tons of money off of what is going on right now. And it does not affect them. These are people with freaking super yachts that don't care about the change of the price because they couldn't spend enough money. They can't spend the interest on their money fast enough to where it would affect them. Carol, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for supporting independent. Thank you, Kenny Cams. Thank you. Again, prayers and thank you to you as well. Mystery School, thank you for your support. And then Antonio Neftali, thank you for supporting 2 days in a row. I appreciate that. Sup Marf Dex and Sup Fooglers. And then Sheepdog, thank you, says you Marf, hold the lines. Thank you for yesterday. And then Heath, Sharon Davis, and again, Antonio Neftali. Thank you guys for those of you that support. But otherwise, please share our stuff out with somebody that hasn't seen our show yet. On the other hand, if you guys want to defend yourself against an EMP, affiliates like this also help us. We are independent. We're on our own. We don't have a multi-channel network. Products like this we believe in will actually save your life in certain circumstances. As far as these devices can protect your vehicles, your trucks, your motorcycles, your boats, your motorhomes, your RVs, pretty much anything that you want to keep running, including gas and solar generators in the case of the Flex 1500, after an EMP or all three phases of an EMP, or even a Carrington level event from the sun, then you would want to get an EMP shield on it. This is very easy to put in your car. It is black to black, red to red on your batteries, and then green to ground to a piece of your frame, and you are protected. It is an awesome, awesome device. And again, this is the same device that DOD and DHS again has utilized. And of course, now they are on the Dempso team officially helping protect the Texas grid. Go to marfugglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. You'll get $50 off per device if you have multiple cars you want to outfit or multiple motorcycles, RVs, or if you want to do a house, a generator, a ham radio, whatever you want to protect. They pretty much make one for everything that you want to have safe. That will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it can fry your device, and you will be able to get home to bug in or get out to bug out. marfugglenews.com/EMP. And then cyber criminals register .ai domains of trusted brands for malicious activity. Dex, I didn't get this. So can you explain this to me and everybody else? So what was going on with this?
Absolutely. So so this I'll use the let me think of a good example. Your bank. So your bank.com, what you normally just know to go to the .com. Well, there's other domain names out there, and they're called .ai. There's a lot of other domain names, but the .ai domain name, so like yourbank.com would be yourbank.ai. What is happening is people are registering the names for those domain names against common brands like Bank of America.ai or Yeti .ai. And they're doing it not just because they can, but they're doing it for nefarious purposes because they know that everybody is understanding, or at least the whole notion of AI being a popular topic, are thinking that these domains, when they see something like that that's put out in a phishing email, it looks official because they go, oh yeah, well that may be their AI, or it may be part of their new system or something that they're doing. So I guess the main point is they noticed this when they launched Threads. That's the competitor to X. When Threads came out, they saw like 700 domains all of a sudden with the names Threads in it get registered immediately so that people could make, these fictitious sites or these phishing type sites based off of that name. This is not an uncommon practice. It's been happening for years, but as these newer domains, or in this case, a very popular one, .ai, which I will say is not necessarily popular amongst our audience and ourselves because we're not really like loving the whole AI future, but it is very popular in the vernacular, in the mainstream, so to speak. So it is easy to fool people when they see a name .ai and to think it's legit and they should be able to click on it. So I guess the one warning I would tell you is if you see a domain name that ends in .ai and you think it is your brand that you're working with, give it a second thought and double check it before you just go clicking away and think that is a legitimate domain name, because the cyber attackers are actually targeting that specific domain right now.
All sorts of cyber events are going on around the world. This last 2 weeks, there's been serious cyber events. Somebody says, isn't it more important right now that embassies are being essentially attacked, right? We have covered that not only on this show earlier in the show, just to let you know, We also covered that specifically on our Israel-centric coverage tonight over on Marfoogle News. This is all of this stuff that is other than that, because everyone is talking about that. Mind you, most times mainstream is directing you to only one thing while things are happening on the back page. Over the last 2 weeks, while everybody has been focused on either this or what was before that, UK and Russia, there have been cyber events so massive that they say they were unparalleled. I'm more concerned about the fact that our internet and our power might go out at any moment, and people will be like, "Oh, but what's going on with the war in Israel?" We have previous events that have now set in motion retaliation from multiple countries, and we have all of these different angles an attack could come from. And I again, we have specific coverage, but this was earlier in the show. So again, I guess it's all in the eye of the beholder, but here we cover everything. You can go to our website too. I think you could probably type in every and any subject, and most likely we've covered it, and probably covered it days before most people have. Again, that's or months before. We have not covered things because we've gone so in depth a month before mainstream has. And then we have anxiety. So this is a weird story, and I was like, man, is there some sort of angle on this? So this is what I found, because I monitor the DoD releases every single day. I monitor several different government kind of releases that are all open to the public, including deployments, DoD, DOE, DOJ, all of these releases that happen, and I monitor all of the press conferences, all of the press releases, things you guys don't see us do every day. That's why we always have these documents. So make sure to subscribe. We will always make sure if there's something, you will not miss it. As far as important releases, laws, things put into place, executive orders, we follow everything here. But this DoD begins defueling Red Hill. Now, if you're in Hawaii, you might know about this. But what was interesting, and I thought this is kind of odd, and it said the Department of Defense has worked closely with the Hawaii Department of Health and U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to ensure that we are good stewards of the environment as we work towards the timely and safe closure of Red Hill. It says beginning the defueling process earlier than initially planned is a testament to the department's commitment to safeguarding the aquifer and protecting the health of the people in Hawaii. On top of everything else that just went down in Hawaii, they have been contaminated. Literally contaminated. People were falling violently ill because of the water, and even if they didn't drink their tap water, just taking a shower in this water was allegedly making people ill. Again, this is pretty nuts. It says, after months of planning, preparing, and rehearsing, we are ready to begin defueling Red Hill. I thought there might be a different angle here, like, is there something else going on because they're defueling 10 million gallons or something like this off of the land? But when you dig into it, apparently that folks have been falling ill, and it has been seeping into the ground. They say the defueling process is led by the Department of Defense's Joint Task Force Red Hill, which has started removing 104 million gallons of fuel from large underground tanks that sit above the aquifer. Now, Dex, I was trying to figure out that they're going to be then loaded into tanker ships. Where do they go from there? And is this going to affect anything? What is this fuel normally used for? And they're saying that the EPA, that this stuff was basically seeping into the ground, ruining the water sources and ruining the ground and making people, from witnesses that were on the video portions of some of the Kahan interviews, they were sick. They were falling. Their whole families were falling violently ill, kind of like an Aaron Brockovich type thing, and nobody's talking about it.
Oh yeah, this is really interesting. We don't know. I'm not sure if we know exactly where they're going to move it. I think they're talking about either at Campbell Industrial Park or to the Philippines. But this is obviously one of the military's fuel tanks, I should say, because it's underground tanks. But they literally built piping. They're using gravity to empty them, and they're running it down pipes, and from those pipes into big tankers. And it's going to take them, I don't know how many trips, but between now and sometime in January, for them to actually defuel this 104 million gallons. But for the fact that this is sitting there seeping into the aquifer, and I guess that's the other thing they're going to probably be able to determine after they get these tanks empty. Then I imagine they'll start to do some inspections and figure out like how bad was it, where is it, what kind of cleanup they're going to have to do to deal with the impact to the people, because having fuel in your water is not an ideal scenario at all.
Well, it's something that I bet you later on people are going to come back to, and it's going to be a much bigger story, and you're going to find out it was much worse than it is. Or is there some other angle? Is this going to affect prices of anything? That's the question I had when they're talking about 104 million gallons. Where did they go? Was this what? It doesn't give you much details. It's very vague, and it seems to me like they're trying to minimize it at all costs. Um, Especially when they go to something and do it quickly, like the DOD has stepped in like super fast. EPA just like said, "Oh, let's do it." Like they never do that. I had an aunt that worked for EPA, and she says it's the slowest thing ever. Like you had to get permits for permits for permits. If you had to make any kind of changes, it was like you had to go through 1,000 loops, and then afterwards travel over a bog throughout Narnia. Like, and they're just doing it right away. Dex, go ahead.
And I know we keep throwing the name Red Hill out there. A lot of people are asking where this is. It's Hawaii, but the main thing to understand is it's basically Pearl Harbor. It's Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickman is where the Red Hill bulk fuel storage facility is located.
So is that fuel used for our Pearl Harbor ships? Like, is this screwing over the ships? Is our Pearl Harbor fleet not going to have refueling there? Like, that's why things like this, I think people brush over. They're like, oh, but this place over here is, everybody's focused on that. What's going on with this? This is quietly happening, whether it's a bigger deal because people are getting sick, or it's a bigger deal because all of a sudden 104 million gallons of fuel. What was that fuel used for? It doesn't say anything about it. It doesn't say what the daily use for that fuel was. It says Red Hill and Hawaii, but people don't get it's in the Pearl Harbor neighborhood. So what the heck is going on? What was that fuel used for? With that much fuel? Was it used to power something? Was it used for the ships? You see my point there? Nobody would have noticed that. You will not see anybody else cover the Red Hill stuff. I think that could be sabotaging. And I don't know. You can comment if you know exactly what this is used for. I'm not saying that it is used for our Pearl Harbor fleet, but man, especially since I've been talking about a Pearl Harbor 2.0, what if our ships can't fuel or something? Or where are they putting that fuel? That's what I'm saying. What if something happens to that fuel in transit to wherever it's going? And we see another Ohio thing, it seems to me like something's happening very quick with the DOD and with the EPA. Then you better bat an eye at it. So, all right. If you want to back up your own power, go to marfooglenews.com/energy. Make sure to go check this out. This is the generator I personally use. It's silent, and you can get unlimited power from the sun. It's modular, so you can change it. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy. All right, Dex, let's go over the web only. We got a lot of crazy stuff over here.
Yes, we certainly do. Head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or hit that show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you right here to this web page that we put together for you every night. It's the bibliography of everything we've talked about. There's links to all the sources, even the DOD and this article about the DOD that we've been talking about regarding Red Hill and everything else. Then you're going to find this yellow bar. It says overflow. This is the rest of the story. The Resvani tank giveaway is still there. It's got maybe 2 or 3 days left, so it will be disappearing soon, and I'll quit talking about it. But you guys want to get the tank. If you want to win, you got to enter to win. And so the rest of the story, what's going on? We got updates in the Middle East, specifically, some interesting articles talking about how Iran may be entering and different options that they have to enter. There's also the updates around the embassy, like in Amman, which is another one now that has been stormed. So we've got the U.S. one in Beirut, we've got the one in Jordan, and now Amman has one. So that's three that have been heavily protested, if not stormed, as some are calling it. We'll get more details on that as it expands. And a rep is Mike Waltz is demanding that Gilly Bates ban that group, that organization inside the strip from using the Qatar Four Seasons. So it'll be interesting. I guess he owns that, so he wants to see if he'll actually do it. So if you want to read more about that, you can. It's on the site. That and a lot of other things that are happening there in the ME. So additional articles around that. Some updates in Europe, specifically around the tension with the immigration that has happened from the ME to Europe and what some of the people are saying about that. We do have updates on the political spectrum. Jim Jordan specifically did not get through the first vote. He failed. I don't know if they're going to go back a few more times like they did with the prior one, but we'll see, McCarthy. But that's all covered. Of course, there's some interesting things with T-Man that's been talked about as well. And get this, the current president is actually trolling T-Man, as they call it, because he joined Truth Social himself and then asked for converts to join him. I don't know. That seems kind of silly to me, but you want to learn more, it's on there. That and a lot more. Some updates about the anticipated strong El Nino that the meteorologists are talking about for our winter. So buckle up. They're trying to tell us it's going to be crazy this year. So if you want to know more about that, all of that, as well as the talk. This is a topic we've heard numerous times, but it's just yet again another story around the electrical grids, but specifically as it relates to their ability or inability to keep up with the demand that's going to be put on them with the push for the new changes they want. So, if you guys missed the annular solar eclipse, or if you didn't live in the area, there's some interesting satellite footage of it that they captured, and that's been put together. So that's there. Apparently, Tucker now has secured 15 million in funding for his new company, his new media company. So we'll probably hear more of that coming out soon, and a whole lot more. I don't even think I give it. Oh, I'll give you the last one. It's really important for a lot of folks out there. If you've had your catalytic converter stolen, you'll love this. Apparently, a family member has now pled guilty in a role for $600 million catalytic converter ring. So hopefully that it's not going to put an end to it, but at least maybe put an end in that area, because obviously that was a large ring that was running to
How?
snatch catalytic converters. So
$600 million? How? I told you guys about right in front of my house. We caught them. They rolled up. They took my neighbor's catalytic converter, and I could not believe how fast they were. They rolled up. They had one of those rolling mechanical, what the heck do you call those things? Just the rolling lay down plates. They put it out. The guy rolled underneath, did a couple screws, boom, dropped it, and hopped back in the car. Well, people were watching. Like my neighbor started yelling at him, and he didn't even stop to finish. He finished, got it, grabbed it, went just out of there. I mean, it was so fast. It was incredible. In fact, we thought that he didn't get it because it was so fast. But then our other neighbor who had it stolen off their car, I would think it was a Honda or Toyota or something, they said, no, it was gone. So in that short couple seconds, it was just gone. So it really sucks too. I mean, like if that's something that, it affects how your car drives. It affects a lot of things. It affects when you, it affects a lot of things about how your car drives. But I just can't believe $600 million. It makes me think that whatever I saw was probably part of that. How was it such a big thing? Like, how was it? I mean, that sounds mafia style, like mob.
yeah, and it's a ring, so it's not just a person. I mean, it's a person for running the ring. So they obviously they were running this in a very large way, and I'm hoping it puts a decent dent into it. But yeah, I hear you. I mean, I got a buddy who owns a furniture shop, and their delivery truck, they just quit putting catalytic converters in it because every night, it would just get hit. They go get a new one, and come back, park it in the parking lot, they'd get hit again. And I think they put like 10 in there, and they finally said, "Forget it, no more."
One of the times my Honda I had a little Honda hatchback that got stolen. It got stolen 3 times in the span of like a year. And when I bought it, it had the rims that came on it. And my the friend I bought it from like put these really, really cool rims on it, way cooler than the car. It was like a 93 or it was 94. 94? Yeah, that was a 94 hatchback. And it was the rims were worth more than the car. And I think that was in South Park. And I was parked in South Park and ended up, the car got taken. It got spotted in the Beacon Hill neighborhood. And the cops were like, "We're behind your car. You can come get it, or we can tow it." And I said, "I'll come get it." And they didn't wait for it, so it could have been taken or whatever. I got there. I had to break into my own car, essentially, and then saw that the wheels were different. And I'm like, "What the heck?" And then I look, and the house that was across the street, there was a garage with windows. And I literally looked at which house. I'm like, "Which house is it?" And there was a house with a bunch of like car stuff in the yard. And I'm like, "That's got to be the house." I look in, and there's literally like all sorts of parts of every little thing. I told the cops. The cops said, "Well, there's nothing we can really do about it." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I ended up knocking on the door and demanding, and there was like an old grandma who opened the door. And I ended up demanding that she get something. It was like a kid. And the kid worked at the tire shop down the street from my house in a completely different neighborhood. So what they were doing is they were taking the tires off and then selling them at this cheap tire place. And they were going to take my rims and then put them at this cheap place. And he actually admitted to all of this so I wouldn't call the cops on him. I was just like, "Oh my gosh." It was a ring. They had like dozens and dozens of cars. And at that point, I just wanted my stuff back. I said, "Give me my stuff back. Give me my rims back, whatever else." And this kid was like 17 years old. Oh my God. I couldn't believe it though. And he ended up working at the shop. So it's crazy to think that there's that kind of stuff. And it could be like a ma and pa tire shop, whatever. And they're secretly running these kind of rings out of them. I knew that the real person to blame was that shop. And that shop ended up getting busted at one point. But it's like stuff like that happens all of the time. And it's like modern day mafia stuff or cartel stuff. In that case, I think it was like some sort of cartel stuff. But yeah, have you guys had similar experiences? Let me know in the comments down below. Have you had your car stolen, and have you actually gotten it back? Let's see here. Carol, thank you. I believe you are the top supporter tonight. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Dex, thank you for your service tonight.
Absolutely. Great job, brother. Much love.
Rip Curl was in the house. Thank you so much, Rip, for stopping by. Trinity, thank you. Jammer, thank you. Thank you, all of the great mods. Make sure to thank them by going over to marfooglenews.com/friends. And appreciate all of you guys. We will see you tomorrow. And again, be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Special thank you to Johnson. Thank you over on DLive. Thank you, Cloud Pharrell, Poco Loco, Vault Music, Kimbria, and of course, Priscilla R, Digga, Dan to Dan. Thank you, Samol, and thank you, Poco Loco. Didn't forget about you, Yobi. Thank you. I said James Garcia and Michael Jordan. Hey, with a Mitch Smile, then the team Orca. Hey, a B borrowed in a Miss Order. I said, hey, I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, up, Carol. Up. Let's do one for Carol. Carol. I say on the flight, on why? I said, oh, everybody really wanna go out. Why? I said, oh, nah, biggie on the, oh, nah, biggie on the, oh, nah, biggie, why? I say on the way on the South Florida, Sunshine, Michael Jardine, and what? Mark and a Mark MacGyver. Bring it on back now, oh now we are rockin' Robin, thump no Carol, Cheryl back with a shake up girl. Bring it whole wide world, Doc Papa Doublis and that girl. Home for the glory of Christ. I'm back in twice as nice, and a teenage voice, and a Bobby Sue. I bring it from the side, Solly on the back with a willy high. Ball, I'm in the ball mute guy. Happy dappy and rob it, on with a team orca. Only fins and the hashtag war. Now back with the Kimberly R. Rose on the Valencia. Hey, man, it be on the Rashi back and away on block. Like flying power muscle, up the fire. I bring it back around now on desire. Bum bum, dib it on, bum bum, bum. Dib it on, bum bum, dib it on, bum. Never empty, and a camera empty. Bring it down now, identity. Mac, you cannot tempt me. I'm back now, we are done. Like a guy in a parking lot. Dog, Baba, Doublis, and that boy. Louis Champ on a jump push. And among me, I don't care. Bum bum, dib it on, bum bum, dib it on, bum bum, dib it on, bum. With the under, with a teenage eyes, bring back and everybody else in now. With a collie, blood all lady, yeah. I got the on back, jam on the white with a deep on white, playing on back with a carol on back, Captain the bonnet and the wave no back. Bum bum, dib it on, bum bum, dib it on, bum bum.